So in the previous session, we've done this assignment where we have enhanced the first assignment. So this program now handles multiple documents at once. So we've enhanced the selection screen to accept multiple inputs from the user. And then we have enhanced the output logic to print the document details one by one. So we are printing the header details of the document and then its item details. And then we are printing the next document's header details and then its item details. So this is a program we have done. And by now you should be comfortable with all of the stuff we discussed so far in this training. And this is the output we were getting. So we are getting the billing document header and its item details, then the next document header and its item details. Don't worry about the formatting or anything, because when we actually create programs, we won't be using these write statements to generate the output. There are better ways to do it. So, but for now we are using the write statement. These are called classical reports. So any report that you display on a list screen is called a classical report. And this list screen is generated using a write statement. So, but one thing here, if you notice, when we are printing the payer details, we are printing the payer number. But our user wants to see the name of the payer, not the number. So we'll enhance this program to print the payer name instead of the payer number. And in that process, we'll learn something more about a select statement. So there's one more variation of select statement that you can use to compare the data of one internal table to get the data from another database table. You can also use joins, but there is a better way of doing it. When you're not dealing with too many tables, joins are useful when you're dealing with multiple tables at once, and you have the complete key in your where clause. If you don't have the complete key, then the join statement can return results which are you may get duplicate entries and all this stuff. So there's another variation called for all entries that you can use while writing a select statement. So in this session, I'll talk about that, and in that process, we'll learn how to use this payer number that we are receiving to get the payer name from a different table and then print the name instead of the number. Even without knowing this for all entries, I can achieve it by writing a select within the loop, but we've already discussed that it's not a good thing to do, right? So if you look at this table, KNA1, so this KNA1 table is a standard SAP table which has the customer details. So this is the customer master table where you can find all the details about the customers. If you pass a customer number to this table, it will return all the information about the customer, like the name, address, and everything, right? We were getting the data about the billing document from VBRK table. If I open this VBRK table, in this table, we were storing, when you create a billing document, all the data is, header data is stored in this table. And when the application is storing the header data, it is storing only the customer number in this table. It is not storing the name of the customer in this table, right? So using that customer number, we can query KNA1 table to get the name of the customer, right? So if I already have the customer name in this table directly, then instead of printing, for example, in this, we are printing this KUNRG field, right? That's the customer number or the payer. So if you look at KUNRG, this is the payer, right? And it is only storing the number, not the name of the payer. So if I had another field which was storing the name of the payer, then I could have directly used that field in my program to print it in the output. But in this case, we don't have that. This table only has the payer number, not his name. So I can use this payer number to query KNA1 table to get the name of the payer. So how do I achieve that? For example, while printing the header details, I can do something like this. For example, I can say data, and in KNA1, if you see, name one is the field which has the name of the payer. Okay, so I can do something like this. data v underscore name1 type this, and I can write a select here, select name1 from, sorry, select single name1 from KNA1 into v underscore name1, where in KNA1 we should be comparing this KUNNR field, which is the customer number, with the KUNRG field of VBRK, because in VBRK we are having the customer number in KUNRG field. The names are different, but they are having the same customer number, where KUNNR of this KNA1 table equals to my WA VBRK KUNRG field. Okay, whatever I am getting in this KUNRG field, WA VBRK KUNRG, I am comparing that to get the name1 from KNA1, and instead of printing KUNRG here, I can print whatever data is coming into v underscore name1. So one way of doing it is this way, by writing a select within the loop. So in each loop, every time it is reading the header document, it will execute the select to get the payer name of that particular document. So now if I execute this program, here you can see the payer is this. For this document, the payer is this. Okay, and for this document 402, the payer is this. So whatever is stored in that master customer master table, the name, that name we are printing here for each payer. So one way of doing it is you can write a select within a loop, like how we are doing here. So I've written the within this loop, when I'm processing the item details, we have used new VBLN to restrict this code to be executed only when a new document is being processed. And after reading this header, when I read this header table into WVBRK, I also get this KUNRG value. I'm comparing that to write a select to KNA1 and getting name1 from that table and printing that here, right? So I just replaced, instead of printing WVBRK KUNRG, I'm printing whatever I'm selecting from KNA1 table. So this is one way of doing it. But this is not the good way of doing it, because you are executing a select in the loop. So if you're processing, let's say, 10,000 documents, then your select is going to get executed 10,000 times. And that is not a good thing from a performance point of view. So we always avoid writing selects within a loop. So always avoid having database access within a loop. Okay. Try to hit the database once, get all the data you need, and then locally process that data. So that's a good way of writing the code. And as I said, you can write whichever way you want. Your program will still work, but as you keep using the program, because over a period of time, the data also increases. Right? It's not that you have limited data. For example, let's say you have created one custom program and you're using your custom tables. So when you go live, there won't be any data in the table because nobody has started using it yet. But as people start using your applications, they'll be generating a lot of data and it gets saved in your tables. So initially, there won't be any performance related issues with your program because the data is less. But 5 years down the line, the table would have accumulated so much data that if you're writing a select to that table, it starts taking more time. So as the days progress, your program starts becoming slower and slower, right? So you should always keep that in mind. When you're writing the code, you should not just look at how it is performing right now. You should also consider how it will perform 5 years down the line when you have so much more data in the tables. So that's why we always avoid these select queries within the loop. But how do I write this select statement outside the loop so that I can get all the customer names? So whatever documents I'm getting into ITVBRK, for each document it is having one customer number. For all those customers, I need to get the customer names. How do I do it? I'll create one structure for KNA1. So I'll say begin of ty underscore KNA1, and I'll have this two fields, KUNNR, the customer number, which is in the KNA1 table. So if you look at this KNA1 table, this has KUNNR, which is the key field, and name1 is our customer name field. And name1 type name1 underscore GP. That's the data element. Now you must be wondering, why am I including KUNNR? I just need name1, but why am I including KUNNR? There are two reasons for that. One is, as I said previously, we always include the key fields even if you don't need it. So when you're building your local structure, make sure your local structure first has all the key fields of the database table, and then you add whatever other fields you need. That's one reason. And second reason, I will need this to compare KUNRG of VBRK. So we'll see that in a while. Then once I have this, I can define an internal table, IT underscore KNA1 type standard table of ty underscore KNA1, and I also need a work area, so I'll define that. Okay. Now this select statement will return me all the customers, all the documents from VBRK based on the user selection criteria, and for each of those documents there is one customer number, KUNRG field. If I write a select like this, select KUNNR name1 from KNA1 into table IT KNA1, where KUNNR equals to, what I want to compare is the KUNRG of this IT VBRK. Okay. If I do this, the system will complain because IT VBRK is an internal table and I cannot use the internal table directly. So one way of doing it is, I'll loop this internal table, and within the loop I'll select each customer. So I can do something like this, or if you want to see this in debug mode before I explain so that you can relate it better, let's see. Underscore KNA1. While watching the recording, you'll notice those mistakes, but while teaching, we overlook those mistakes. So here what I want to do is, once I execute this select statement, it has fetched all these documents from VBRK, and for all these customers, all these customer numbers I'm getting, I want to compare these values, the values in this particular column, to fetch the names of those customers from KNA1. Whereas if I write a select like this, where IT VBRK KUNRG, the system will complain because you cannot directly access a field of an internal table, right? That's what we've learned. You always need a work area for that. So to achieve that, one way of doing it, we've seen one way, that is writing a select within the loop there. Another way is, again, I have to write a select here. If I want to avoid select writing in that loop, I'll have to write a select in this loop, right? So I can select into select single loop at IT VBRK into WA VBRK. In each loop it will bring one record into WA VBRK, and I can compare that into WA KNA1, where this equals to WA VBRK QNRG, and then I can append WA KNA1 to IT KNA1. So I can do this way also. What this will do, it will loop this IT VBRK structure. In each loop, I'll get one customer number into my WA VBRK KUNRG field, and I'm comparing that to write a select again within the loop. And then it will, I'm appending the data into my internal table. So that here, instead of writing the select, I can use the read statement. But this is also not the right way, because I'm avoiding select in this loop, but I'm still having to write a select in this loop. Both are same, right? It will still execute the select same times. So this is also not the right way to do it. But how do I directly tell the system that, okay, I have the data in the internal table, please scan this column, and for all the entries that you find in that column, get me data from another table? How do we tell it? To do that, there is an addition call for all entries. So I can say select these fields from KNA1 into table IT KNA1. So I'll format this select better so that it's more easily readable for you. But I have to compare IT VBRK QNRG, and at this point, if I do a syntax check, it will say IT VBRK QNRG is unknown, because it cannot directly read the field of an internal table. So before the where clause, I can put one addition called for all entries in IT VBRK. So now what I'm telling the system is, select these two fields from KNA1 into this internal table IT KNA1 for all entries in IT VBRK. So I'm asking it to scan this IT VBRK for this particular field where KUNNR equals to whatever data is there in this KUNNR. Okay. Now the system will automatically build a list of KUNRG values from this IT VBRK, and then it will hit the database and get you all the data at once into your IT KNA1. Let's see this in debug mode. So if you look at IT VBRK here, IT KNA1 here. So in the first select, I'm getting data from IT VBRK. I got these records, and if I expand, there are 5 records, and these are the customers, right? 11, 12, 1000, 99, and 99 is repeated twice if you see. Okay, so two documents are having the same pair basically. And when I execute the next select statement, where I'm asking it to scan IT VBRK, where KUNNR equals to IT KUNRG. That means it will scan this column of this IT VBRK, and it will prepare a list of all these customers, and it will automatically remove the duplicates for you, and it will take all the unique customers in this particular column and then go and hit this KNA1 table, search for those customers and get you the required data into IT KNA1. So when I execute this select, see what happens in IT KNA1. See, here you can see, here I had 5 customer numbers, but out of that, one is a duplicate entry. So it only took the unique customers and fetched me the data from KNA1. So KNNR as the customer number and name1 as the customer name. Right? Now what I can do, since I have the customers now in IT KNA1, I'm not writing my select in a loop. Here, instead of writing this select, I can replace it with read statement. So I can say read table IT KNA1 into WA KNA1 with, we'll use this secondary key for this table also because we want to speed up the processing. So with non-unique default key and with unique hash key. I'm using unique because I know that KUNNR will be always unique in this table because that's the key field. Even for VBRK, I knew that VBLN will always be unique. That's why I'm using unique. If I'm not sure about it, then I have to use non-unique. Otherwise, you lose duplicate data. So with unique hash key by customer components KUNNR. And here I'll say with table key by customer components KUNNR of this KNA1 equals to WA VBRK KUNRG. So first I'm reading this VBRK, it will bring the KUNRG value into my WA VBRK. Then I'm comparing that to read ITKNA1. If I write this read statement before reading VBRK, it will fail obviously because at this point WA VBRK will be empty or it will have previous record if I'm not clearing it. So in the first loop it will be empty. So we should read it after reading VBRK, right? So you can use this Pretty Printer to format your code better. And okay, and I'm using this secondary key. Make sure you notice the syntax. Initially you'll take some time to get used to the syntax, so pay more close attention to the syntax. Now what we have done, we have written the select. Let us stop this. Okay, so we have written the select to VBRK, and for all those customers we received in that select, we are comparing that internal table directly by saying for all entries in and then fetching the data from KNA1. So this is one way of doing it. There's another way of doing it which is using joins, but if you are just dealing with one or two tables, for all entries is more efficient compared to joins. If you are dealing with more than 3 tables, then joins can be more efficient provided you have the complete key in your where clause. But in SAP NABAP, we rarely deal with more than 3 tables. So if you know for all entries, if you're comfortable with this, that should be more than sufficient, right? We'll discuss about joins later once you're more comfortable with coding. So for now, use for all entries. The reason it is efficient is when you use a join, it has to scan one database table to prepare a list of records that should be matched with another database table. So the scanning is happening at the database level, querying is happening at the database level. Whereas here, it is scanning an internal table to prepare the list of values that should be queried in another database table. So scanning an internal table is much faster compared to scanning a database table, right? So that way, for all entries is more efficient compared to joins. So this is your for all entries. So what we have done, I've selected the data and I'm comparing the data in one internal table to select data from another database table. And this you'll come across in a lot of cases. And then I'm finishing all my selection logic. And then in the loop, I'm only using read statements to read other tables. I'm not using select statements. Okay. And another important thing you have to remember when using for all entries. I'll keep a breakpoint here. Let's say I'll give some invalid document number. Okay, and execute. Here, if you look at ITVBRK, when I execute this select statement, the select should fail because I've given an invalid document number. So it should not return any data. ITVBRK is empty, size sub-RC is 4. It's not initial, right? Now in for all entries, I'm asking the system to compare the data in ITVBRK for this column KUNRG, whereas ITVBRK is empty, there is no data. So I'm basically asking it to compare an empty table. So what will happen if you compare an empty table? instead of this select failing, it will assume that, like select options, it will simply ignore this where clause and it will fetch you all the data from the database table. So if I execute this select, instead of this select failing, it will actually bring all the data that is there in KNA1. Okay, if you look at KNA1, you can see it has fetched all the data from KNA1. If I open KNA1, so if you look at this KNA1 table, it has around 8,516 records, right? And our select statement has fetched all those 8,516 records from the database. So instead of ignoring the select, or instead of this select failing, it has actually fetched all the data from the database. And we've also seen that your internal table has a size limitation. So typically it is limited to 500 MB, whereas your database table can have much more data, right? So if this table is huge, and if you are trying to dump all the data from the database into your internal table, then if the size of that data exceeds 500 MB, then it will give a runtime error because your internal table cannot take more data than 500 MB. So you'll get these runtime errors in your program. So that's why we never write a select without where clause. This program may work now, but again, as I said, as you keep using your systems, as you keep adding data, there will be a point when you reach that stage where your database table has more data than your internal table can accommodate. And at that time, it will start giving short dumps, right? So never write a select without where clause, and always identify situations where your select can execute without a where clause. So this is one such situation. So if I'm writing a select by comparing data in one internal table using this for all entries, and if this internal table is empty, then this select is as good as writing a select without where clause, right? So what we always do is, whenever you are writing a select statement using for all entries, always make sure that this table is not empty. Only then execute this select. One way of doing it is, if I'm writing the select immediately after the VBRK select, I can say if psi sub RC is initial. That means only if the above select is successful, execute this select. Now, by keeping this within an if condition, I can ensure that the select will be executed only when this select is successful. That means ITVBRK will always have some data when my for all entry select is executed. That I can ensure. But this psi sub RC you can only check immediately after the select statement, because there are many statements which update psi sub RC. So its significance is only to the preceding statement. If I write this select here, then it will check for this selects whether this is successful or not. It will not check for ITVBRK, right? Sometimes you may not be able to write immediately. So if you are writing anywhere else, you can also do this. If ITVBRK, whichever table I'm comparing in my for all entries, is initial means it's empty. We don't want it to be empty, right? So I'll say is not initial. Either I'll say psi sub RC is initial or the internal table is not initial. Both mean the same. So if ITVBRK is not initial, then you execute this select, right? So if you are really confused, it's very simple. Whenever you want to use for all entries, whichever table you are comparing in for all entries, make sure you write this if condition if that table is not initial. And if. So always keep your for all entry select within this if condition. Whenever you write your code and before it can be moved to production, there is something called code review. A senior developer or your team leader will review your code before it can be moved to production. And when reviewing that code, they will check all this. So whether you're restricting your for all entries by using an if condition or not. So if you're not doing it, then they'll ask you to correct your code, right? So this is a good programming practice we follow. So two things you learned today. One is you can use the for all entry statement to compare data in one internal table to get data from another database table. Second, always make sure your for all entry select statement is restricted within an if condition to check that the table you are comparing in for all entries, the internal table, is not empty. Okay, so this is the stuff you need to know if you want to process data from multiple database tables. Okay, with this information, I think you should be able to work on many assignments. So I'll be lining up few assignments that you can practice on before we move on to the next topic. That's all I have for this session. Thank you.